Coming up on this program, we show you how to get connected. Find out how to choose an internet service provider. Discover the newest form of communication, electronic mail.
Ways down and ready to ride. One by one, billion by billion, been holding up half the sky. Raise your hand if you're ready and willing, if you know it's time. Time for a girl on time. Time for a girl on time. Time for
Hello everybody, welcome to, once again, my living room. I'm gonna have to fix the green screen. It's picking up on my obviously blue shirt. There's nothing green about this. Also, some of you may have noticed the goal feature up in the top. Bill got it almost right. It's not a beta feature anymore. Mikey was testing it while it was in beta months ago, but it is not a beta feature now. Why is everybody's names different colors in the chat? Fucking me up, Streamlabs. What's going on there? Okay. All right, we can do that. Anyways, so what I've done, it's set up if we get 10 $2 or more on the screen, Lisa, right over there. It's not the same color. It's over there. So if we get 10 $2 or more super chats, then I will do a kitchen stream this week. Imagine that. So testing it out. I'm not part of the beta program. John, you're green. You're green. I don't know why that's doing that. That's definitely not a setting that I've changed, but we'll see how it goes. I hope everybody's had a good day today. I saw that Colin had a very busy stream going on over there. So I hope that goes well for him. Love to see that. Christopher, what's going to happen when you tap in? Anything extra? Let's cook, baby. I thank you so much, Christopher Engelby. So it's got 1 out of 10 now. That's sort of cool. I like it. I like it. I like it. Let me heart this because I actually love it. I love it. That's right. And, yeah. I forgot to eat dinner. I made it. You guys want to see it? I made dinner. Ooh! Lisa! Yay! Can I make some delicious edibles? Well, almost, I would, maybe this is just me boasting, but almost everything I make is edible. I know what you mean, though. I'll have to look into the legalities of that. And also, you have to buy quite a bit of pot for that. So we'll see. But thank you so much, Lisa. That's 2 out of 10. 3 out of 10. Bill, you guys, I love y'all so much. Bill says, let's eat. Oh my. Shane did it too. This is amazing. I can't heart Shane's, but it counted, didn't it? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, we might hit our goal. I might be in the kitchen this week. That's right. Also, we are going back to Thurston County because we are gonna watch more of the TPO hearings. Yay, Christopher! You guys! Oh my goodness. I don't know what happens if we reach the goal. I hope something cool happens on the screen, but I don't know if that's gonna be the case. Thank you so much. I love you too. Woo! Okay. Great start. I got the video out here. Did I start it? No, I didn't. So yeah, Thurston was like a 3-hour,
And seeing no one move, we'll just go ahead and take.
Judge, you're gonna need to wait a minute, sir. I'm not ready yet. We're halfway there. That's right. And I've already hit the gym today. Good job, Paisley. Now, what's going on with this chat? Why is it so... Oh! Lisa, I want to see what happens too. You guys are amazing. 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 I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Oh, and Beverly, you're so sweet. There's Bev's up. Oh, this is a good problem to have. Unable to keep up with the super chats. You guys are amazing. So we watched the first one of this, and now we're about to watch this one. So, I think this is it right here. It's counting donations. Yeah, I know. I made them more, just $2 or more, so they're, but yes, it counts donations. Again, I was not involved in this beta program, but Mikey was. When I heard him mention it, I realized, I was like, oh, it must not be in beta anymore, because I don't think you're allowed to talk about what happens when you're in beta. Betas don't mention beta. Oh, we are so close, Christopher. We're at 8 out of 10. Oh my god. Ah, Vicky. Oh, Lisa, you're so sweet. Look at that. A super chat for Vicky. Thank you so much. Vicky, thank you for your support always, too. You know, guys, I do appreciate the money. I will not lie about that. But I also just I love all of you and love hanging out with you. Oh, okay, one more, and that's it, and then we'll see what happens.
I gotta have to check my calendar.
Yeah, Judge, check your calendar. I checked my calendar. I am doing great. We got 2 days left of the month.
Yes. Go ahead and give it to her. She'll make copies of it.
Bill did it! Brought us to 10. What's gonna happen? Are you guys doing those party sounds, or is that YouTube Daddy?
So we will give his clients a 10-minute
Oh my god!
Okay, thank you.
You had confetti falling on the screen? Are you serious? Oh my god. And I'm getting an email. I don't know what that's about. Confetti in the chat. I love it. I don't know why I didn't get to see that. That's not very cool. But that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Look at that. Oh, and 10 out of 10. So that means, first of all, thank my audience for making that possible. Thank you guys so much for making that possible. Lisa and Bill and Lisa and Christopher and Beverly and Lisa and Christopher and Shane and Bill and Lisa and Christopher. Thank you all so much. I'm so glad we saw that. And we hit our goal so quick. Ah! You guys are amazing. Okay, let's let the judge talk a little bit, Paisley. How about that? And I think that we'll F in the chat for confetti. Also, F in the chat. Oh, you guys, you're amazing. Hold on, I'll start a new goal. Oh my god, you guys are so amazing. Seriously, reseller road trip, you tried, you succeeded. And Christopher sent me some frosting on the cake. Hold on, what the? Frosting on the cake from Christopher. You guys are amazing. Okay, let me see what this says. Start another goal. YouTube Daddy, why you gotta be like that? Oh, he increased it. He won't let me change it. I'm not sure if I can do it in there. But regardless, let's just leave it, let it cook for a moment as we go. Carol needs prayers. She had an echo yesterday. I'm assuming she means like echocardiogram and not just heard an echo. No, it's not 1 goal per stream. I think actually it's that I was in the wrong. Hold on. Here we go. I get it. I got it. It's because you can't do it from, Woo! We did it. Okay. You can't do it from, YouTube. You have to do it from in the studio. Anyways, I've set it up. I'm apologizing that it didn't count Reseller and Christopher Engelby. I count them. But, alright. I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure. I understand. I just don't know. I don't know how it works. I love trying new things. Let's watch this video, shall we? Judge, please talk. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody. You guys are really amazing.
She is.
Graham, can you come on the Zoom call, please?
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn on my
You can activate your camera, please.
here.
Okay, so hold on just for a second. And then Ms. Cruz, Mr. Kunzler, is he on the Zoom call with you?
Kunzler.
She is.
Okay, yeah, I want him to come on the Zoom call also, please. Okay, give me just a second. So, Mr. Graham, you're here without an attorney. In a second, I'm going to swear you in. I'll hear from you as to why you think you need an order against Mr. Kunzler. Ms. Cruz, who's here on behalf of Mr. Kunzler, she has the right to cross-examine you. She may have some questions for you. She may not. And then I'll hear from Mr. Kunzler, and then I'll make a decision going forward. Folks have filed some declarations in this case as well, which I've reviewed. And did you see any of those there, Mr. Graham?
Yeah, I have.
Great. And so, Mr. Graham, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down. And then how is it you need an order against Mr. Kunzler?
Yeah, I would just say, Your Honor, I appreciate, thanks for having me here. I carefully reviewed the additional material that was submitted. I know that the statements are certified with the party declaring under penalty of perjury their claims are true and correct. However, I must address the inaccuracies and outright falsehoods present in Ms. Graham's statements. I have evidence that directly contradicts her claims and witnesses who can attest to the truth.
Okay, do you have witnesses? Do you have witnesses you want to call? Are they on the Zoom call, or did you file anything?
Your Honor, I've been in the course of purchasing and selling a home over the last week, and it was yesterday afternoon that I actually took the moment to be able to review this information. And currently, I did not want to bring in any witnesses if that's not needed. I believe.
Well, buddy, hate to tell ya, but that's sort of what court is. And if you think that somebody's perjuring themselves, then perhaps go ahead and bring those witnesses, wouldn't you? Also, we saw this guy the other day, maybe, but we didn't watch this hearing yet. Also, Christopher, they seem to be out of my coffee, but I'm putting the dark roast on my list right now. Or is it Colombian that I normally get? I don't know. I'm putting it on the list right now anyways. Again, I forgot to do my homework till yesterday, Judge, and then I started. Not a good idea, bro. Not a good idea. Also, I just was fixing the chat there and I saw the confetti.
That I'd like to be able to just
Well, just go ahead and tell me then what again, I'm going to hear from him in a minute. And this seems to apparently involve a dog and looking after a dog. And apparently there's some childcare issues there as well, as far as I can tell, unless I'm wrong about some things. Childcare may not be exactly the term to be used, but and some miscommunication about when all that was going to be picked up. And again, correct me at any time. Jump me in from any party can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. But I saw the video that you had submitted, and then I read the explanation about that from the Kunstler and Danielle Graham side. So I guess, where are we at?
I guess at this time, I would like to, if I could kind of work through my, I guess my statement, and then make a
Yes, go ahead. Take it from the top.
I suppose so. I just want to share that it's disheartening to confront statements clearly intended to defame me. The truth remains, regardless of how often a lie is repeated. Rather than expending energy on disproving decades of falsehoods, I wish to focus on the specific incident at hand. On the night in question, Mr. Kunstler arrived at my home around 2:30 a.m. in a threatening manner and attempted to break in. I have submitted substantial video evidence and a police incident report supporting my request for an anti-harassment order. This evidence reveals the inconsistency in the respondent's statements. A quick review of Ms. Graham's claims shows numerous inaccuracies and contradictions. For instance, she states that they were bringing our son, John, for a transfer, only to later claim there was no plan for that transfer. Additionally, Ms. Graham describes Mr. Kunstler as having a calm demeanor, yet he had ample time to calm himself during his journey to my home and upon his arrival. The video evidence contradicts this portrayal. He approached my door without knocking or ringing the doorbell, attempting to gain entry. He even tried to open my back door after pacing around my property. Moreover, despite claiming he would be patient and tolerant, non-reactive, and slow to anger, Mr. Kunstler displayed aggression, directly confronting my Ring camera and verbally assaulting me. This behavior demonstrates a concerning lack of self-control. The video evidence and police report clearly show that Mr. Kunstler attempted to force entry and break into my home. Mr. Kunstler admitted to the police that he was searching for a spare key and trying to gain interest and access through various points around my home. This aggression was exhibited under the assumption that I might be inside, as evidenced in both Ms. Graham and Mr. Kunstler's statements that they believed I would be home to meet them within 15 minutes, which amplifies the seriousness of his actions. Since this incident, I have felt unsettled, struggling to sleep, and constantly checking my doors and windows for security. In light of these facts, I believe the intent of the law for course of conduct and single act of violence have both been met, and I respectfully request that the court grant my petition for an anti-harassment order to protect my safety and well-being. I appreciate your time, Your Honor.
Ms. Cruz, do you have any questions you wish to ask Mr. Graham?
I do. Your Honor, I know you mentioned a video that was uploaded, and petitioner mentioned a police report and mentioned some things that were included in a police report. I have never been sent anything from Mr. Graham or served with anything.
No, it's
So
been in the file. It was
Okay.
filed, so it was in the court file.
Okay. My next question, he mentioned there was no plan. There was a plan to transfer the dog, and that was an inconsistency in Miss Graham's statement. Can I ask?
Hold on. Are they talking about a child or a dog? Is this a custody exchange of a dog? Oh no, Christopher, is that what it says? Thank you so much. You're so sweet. I'll keep looking. I still have a can though. I should be good for at least a couple weeks. Also, we got a jackpot, what's it called? Cellulite yoga pants. It says something funny. Like, if you want to know what Creed does while Mikey's here, check out We Got a Jackpot. I can't remember what the command is for it, though. Oh, virtual reality? That's cool, Lisa. That's fucking awesome. Also, I'm eating guacamole. I made this from scratch, and I'm eating it. This is the first food I've eaten today. Also, I want to see the video, but we're not going to get to see it.
What that plan was?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You stated there were some inconsistencies in Danielle's statement. You stated that one of the inconsistencies was that there was a plan actually to transfer the dog. What was the plan?
I guess there was no plan. That this is something that what I'm stating is that there are false accusations that are made in that statement that are not correct, and I'm not going to sit here and try and work through each one of those individually. The reality is.
The reality is, sir, you're under oath and you're on the stand. You'll work through whatever fucking questions she wants to fucking ask you. Yay, Christopher, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. But seriously, sir, like Jeremy, I guess you're used to being in charge. You're not in charge anymore. You have to answer the questions asked.
Is what occurred. It's pretty plain and it's on camera. The evidence right there.
So, okay, so Mr. Graham, we're in court about the inconsistency. So we're actually in court about the facts, about what happened. So I am going to get into it. I would like to know if you're stating that, so are you agreeing that there was no plan to exchange the dog now?
The only plan was the one that was that they would come back at some point. The real issue at hand is the fact that my son was with them, and at some point we would be transferring my son along with their dog, and so there was no actual time that was set, as was evidenced in some of the exhibits that were provided. There was an email, or sorry, a text exchange that that I was willing to transfer the dog in the morning at 10 o'clock at an appropriate time. To come over at my residence at 2:30 in the morning is certainly not a plan.
Okay, did you have a phone conversation with Danielle in the car when they got back from their trip that night?
I did not put it in my car.
When Dayton and Danielle were in their car after they landed from getting back from Hawaii, did you have a phone conversation with Danielle?
As far as I know, they were not in the car when I had a phone
Okay, it doesn't matter where they were. Did you have a phone conversation with Danielle that night?
So after receiving a couple phone calls in the morning, I think I was concerned that that might be cause for an emergency. And so I answered the phone because I was concerned something might be happening with my son.
Okay. And when they asked to come get their dog, did you laugh and say no?
Absolutely not. What I said was that the dog was okay. In fact, they even state that I had seen the dog within the last hour. The dog was at my residence. I was preparing for my son's birthday table, his birthday chair, because it was around his birthday. So I was expecting for him to be able to come back to my home and be able to be surprised by his own birthday chair. And so my whole focus was on my boys, and the care of the dog was just fine. Totally inappropriate for anybody to come over at anybody's home at 2:30 in the morning, especially when I had explicitly stated I was not home.
But you were home working on the birthday chair? What are you fucking talking about, dude? Whose kid is this? Why? If somebody gets home and they want their dog back, guess what? You gotta answer the phone and give them their goddamn dog back. They're not asking you to bring the dog. They showed up to get the dog. I'm confused. And now he wants the TPO?
Okay. And the dog, you stated in your petition that it is a family dog. Have you provided any care for this dog other than watching the dog this one time?
When I am saying that is a family dog, I don't know what that has relevance in this case. The fact is that I was saying that it's their family dog, okay? And I was watching their family dog with my older son. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing behind calling it a family dog or whose dog it is. I'm not sure what relevance that even has to this.
Okay, Your Honor, I don't have any more questions. I'm ready to make my argument.
You wish to have Mr. Kunstler testify?
Your Honor, I think that everything I mean, really, if I did, we would just be probably rehashing his declaration.
Okay.
So I'm ready for
Okay.
my argument.
I have some questions from Mr. Graham. How old are your kids?
My oldest is 15 and my youngest is 13.
And which one was with you when all this went down?
My oldest son, well, no, he was not. My oldest son was spending the night at a friend's.
I see. And then, and the mother of your children is currently dating Mr. Kunstler. Is that also correct?
That's correct.
And then how have things gone?
Oh, it's all becoming clear now. First of all, how old is she? Did she upgrade? They look like they could be father-son. So she obviously has a type. So his ex-wife is dating Mr. Kunstler, and they were in Hawaii? Oh, that would piss him off. I'm assuming that would piss him off. But probably not reason for a fucking TPO. I don't know. It's just the minute that it's revealed that the person is dating your ex, there's this whole like other level that goes into it.
On up until this?
Between Mr. Kunstler and myself.
Yeah, and you and I don't know whether she was your wife or girlfriend or what have you, but I mean, a
Right.
blended situation, but I mean, and kids have been going back and forth. I mean, how have things been going? Again, leaving this aside, yeah, how have things gone up until this?
Currently, my 15-year-old son since May has been living with me full time.
Okay, no, but no, that's not my question. My question is, again, has there been anything leading up to all this, or have you been having a cordial a relationship with both your children and your ex-partner, and or
I
not, or
have a great relationship with my children. My former spouse and I wouldn't say it's that great.
Oh, shocking! I'm shocked, Jeremy. I'm fucking shocked. Folks, you can't fuck with pets, okay? If you get a divorce, get a new pet. Get a clone. Get a clone of the same pet. I don't know. It just seems like it's asking for trouble. Also, the way he answered that question when he said, "How has it been going?" Well, my son's living with me full time, aka he hates his mother. Well, I fucking wonder why.
Okay, well, a lot of times it's not, but okay.
But
Here's
I
what's
mean,
gonna happen,
like,
Mr. Graham. I'm gonna hear from Ms. Cruz,
I-
and then chance, I'll give you a chance to respond, and then I'll make a decision.
okay,
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So the situation that we have here, Your Honor, is that my client and his significant other were returning from vacation. They wanted their dog back. Mr. Graham was awake. There was a phone conversation that put both of them, made them both very, very uneased. The information that they kind of picked up from the phone conversation was that Mr. Graham was not home. He had not been home for a while. Mr. Graham knows that this dog is very important to the two of them. And Mr. Graham was making a joke out of this. He was laughing. He was not taking it seriously. I think the situation wouldn't have been so dire had he let them know, yes, the pet was taken care of. Everything is good. I'm good to transfer in the morning. But instead, that was not what was communicated to them, and that was not the mood of the call. And so when Mr. Graham hung up, they were like, okay, we would like to come get our pet. And then Mr. Graham, despite just having communication with them, started to ignore them. Despite that, I would like to look at, even if everything in the petition is true, it does not meet the burden of unlawful harassment. First, there's no course of conduct. So, series of acts over a period of time with an ongoing purpose. There is no proof that my client and the petitioner they haven't really ever had too much communication. Even during the incident, they didn't even have communication. There was no communication between them really through calls, texts, no in person, no notes left, nothing on social media. There had really been no communication at all between the two of them. Most of the communication had went between Mr. Graham and Danielle, or my client's significant other. So we have no pattern of contact. It's just this one singular incident. Now, if we're looking at a one singular incident, the other definition is a single act or threat of violence. Well, this is not a violent incident. There's no violence included. There was no fight. There was nothing like that. There was no damage, nothing. And it's really the definition goes on, that is intended or directed to alarm, annoy, harass, and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Again, doesn't fit that at all. It was attempted, the incident was a direct attempt to get the dog back, not an attempt to alarm, not an attempt to annoy, not harassing, and it actually does serve a legitimate and a lawful purpose. So even if what is in the petition is true, it does not fit the definition at all.
So, do we think that he will get the TPO? Hold on, I'm putting up a poll. And I'll add one more option here. There we go. Start. Get your votes in now. What do you think? Will he get the TPO? Yes, no, or think of the dog. Think of the dog. I think it's going to be denied as well. But there was a video that we didn't see, mind you, but I don't know. I'm going to guess no. All right, let's continue and see. Also, you guys are talking about punctuation. I'm from the millennial punctuation where I just add 3 dots after pretty much everything I write. So that I don't know why. It's just something I've done my like whole life. Dot dot dot. Dot dot dot.
Mr. Graham has stated he's already made a police report. If he feels that that's the best route to take for this incident, then it is. But Your Honor, it is not, it does not fit the definition before this court. So we are asking Your Honor to dismiss the petition as it does not fit the definition. Thank you.
And Mr. Graham, I'll give you the final word here.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to just state that at no time was there any. I don't quite understand at what point Ms. Graham and Mr. Kunstler were believed that their dog was in any dire situation. The dog had been under my care, older son's care, for the last week, 7 days. You know, the dog was just fine. I had stated even over that phone call that the dog was okay. Because of it became heated. It expressed that I wasn't at home. I let them know. And I had another person witness at the moment too. But I shared that it wasn't an appropriate time. It was early in the morning. For whatever reason, they believed the dog was going to be there 10 plus hours. There's no indication. I don't know why they would either thought that. The dog was fine. And when it comes to what I believe is a course of conduct and a series of acts, it doesn't matter how short of time. And there were multiple acts within the time that Mr. Kunstler was on the property for the 5 minutes, attempting to come into my home. And it's just, to me, it was coming up to the Ring camera and the cutscene, the statements he made are the violence. They are a result of physical and psychological concern, and even the physical assault on my property. And so the reason that I filed this, I don't take this lightly. This is not me. I've never come and filed an anti-harassment order in my life. This is not something that I take lightly. It's not something that I seek. It's not. But when I went and I looked into the police report and contacted the prosecuting attorney at Olympia and asked them what was the course of action and how long would it take, they told me there was no.
Let me guess what they told you, sir. And we always know this because when police want to pass the buck, the prosecutor doesn't give a fuck. They send you to TPO court. It doesn't mean that that's what they think you'll get, dude. It's a way to get you the fuck out of their face. Nobody wants to deal with this petty shit, okay? Easements and dogs and exes and fucking everything. It's a joke. This county. I mean, I think we're gonna have to look at the cost in an upcoming members only of this county specifically, because it's out of control here. It is out of control. And again, like, here's the thing. If you have a good relationship with your ex and you're 11 months seems longer. I would swear it's, that's because this channel's new. No, should be longer, right? Hi, Mikey. We were talking about you earlier with the goal thing. Anyways, my whole point being, if you have a good relationship with your ex and you co-parent 2 children and you've watched their dog for them while they went to Hawaii, who the fuck fuck cares what time they show up to pick up the dog? I'm perplexed. I don't understand. It's like, you're too familiar, but also get the fuck out, I don't know you. Like, that doesn't work. Get your votes in and then I'm closing the poll.
Deadline to be able to review that case and file anything forward and proceed. It's really my only course of action at that time, in my understanding, to do this. In the interim of whatever was going to happen with the trespass case. And so that's why, and through talking to other folks at the court, and speaking to a lawyer and being told that I could file this on my own.
Oh, I so apologize, Mikey. It has nothing to do with you not being a member. The channel didn't get membership. Sorry, I almost clicked the end stream button. Jesus Christ, that scared me. The channel didn't get memberships till 11 months ago. Nobody has longer than 11 months. Duh. My brain's so stupid sometimes.
That's what I did, and that's why I'm here today. It's not something that I would necessarily, it's not something I would want, but I definitely do not want Mr. Kunstler on my property.
I sent you a message about that earlier. Did you see that? There's 1,100. When I messaged you about it, there was 890 in there. First of all, thank you so much. That's so sweet. I don't think he will. No, and no skin off his back. I just, could you imagine 1,100 people showing up here? I don't know what to do. Why? What's that trial about? Is it because it's a SOV sit trial or what? It's crazy. But thank you so much. And look the gold thing is back up, Mikey. Trial's gonna last 4 hours and they're gonna watch it? Wow. That sounds like something I would do. No, here's what we'll do. We'll finish here, we'll reverse raid if they're still going, and then I'll still get the shout out over there.
I don't appreciate it. And for as far as I know, since this incident, he has not been on my property. There have been transfers where my youngest son is able to be picked up at school from school. That's fine. I think that's an appropriate way to proceed. But that's my case.
Well, here's where I'm at there, Mr. Graham. I agree with a lot of what you say in terms of how inappropriate it is for anyone to show up at 2:30 and conduct himself in the manner that Mr. Kunstler did. I don't have any disagreement with that. I do go back to the definition of harassment. It's a willful course of conduct, and then the course of conduct is a series of acts of a period of time, however short. And one thing I do disagree with you on is you said, well, there were several acts during that 5-minute period that he was on the premises. I look at that all as a single act. And then the single act of violence or threat of violence, that actually, people didn't go all the way on that definition. One of two things needs to be present in order for a single act to be appropriate to enter an order. A single threat or violence must include either a malicious intentional threat as described in RCW RA 36080, which is basically a hate crime, or the presence of a firearm. So in order for a single act to be appropriate for a no contact order, it has to be a hate crime of some sort, this is not, or there's the presence of firearm, which this is also not. But at the same, having said that, I think that Mr. Kunstler could have handled this a lot better. I suspect in the future he will. And so based on the evidence that's been presented both in court as well as in the file, I'm not going to find that a pattern exists. If he's back there, then that's a second act, then it becomes a pattern. Do you understand that, Mr. Kunstler?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that as well, Mr. Graham?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Arnold.
And so I think it'd probably be a good idea for you folks to, whoever can communicate with Mr. Graham, whether that's Ms. Graham, Mr. Kunstler, you should probably, talk and work this out. I look at this as kind of a miscommunication between the parties that Mr. Kunstler handled in an inappropriate way, which I completely agree with Mr. Graham on that. But again, at this time, I don't think it rises to the level of harassment, so I'm not going to enter an order at this time. But again, if there's any other problems, Mr. Kunstler, you need to think about how you conduct yourself before you jump off the deep end of the pool, so to speak. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
And that'll conclude the hearing for today. You can get a copy of the denial order off the district court website. All three of you are free to leave the Zoom call.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good day.
Thank you.
That's why you get yourself.
And then
a
Anaya
lawyer.
Owings, is that you, ma'am? Why don't you come on up? I'm sorry, I should have called you earlier. So on Ms. Howell, I didn't see that she was served.
Took it to Olympia Police Department to have them serve it, and I reached out to the officer that was there that night, and he said he was gonna try,
Right.
but yeah.
But they were not, so your choices are either to reissue the temporary and then try to come back in 2 weeks and see where we're at, if you want to do that.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
let's do that. And so, guys, can
Go
you
ahead.
remind me, like, who can serve her? Like,
Anyone but you.
Anyone but you, ma'am. Also, stop wasting our time. We have other shit to do. Also, Mikey, the guy that was the two people that were on the screen just moments ago. Hold on, I want to go back. Let's just see. These two right here. That the bottom guy is her ex-husband, and then the top guy is her new guy. Oh, terrible. Anyways, okay. Oh, here we go. More lawyers. We're ready.
Have you come up with Mr. Rawlings? When the courtroom clears. You can go back and sit and,
thank you.
yeah,
So I go out there.
no, wait right there on the bench there for a second. This is 24000301. Number 3 on the calendar.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Give me just a minute there, Mr. Kean. File, there's a lot of things in this file that don't involve the issues between the parties. Terms about apparently Mr. Rawlings' brother and their father. There's a lot, none of that. The only thing that's going to determine whether or not an order is appropriate is the interactions between Mr. Sean Rawlings and Ms. Barbara Rawlings. That's what I want to hear about. I don't need to hear about any of the vulnerable adult stuff and all of that. And so, although some might tangentially come into it, but so here's what's going to happen, Ms. Rawlings. I'm going to you unmute. Your attorney's going to unmute. I'm going to swear you in, and then Mr. Kean, you can either question her, or I can just have her testify in narrative form, whichever you decide. Mr. Leone may wish to ask you some questions, which of course he's allowed to do. And then we'll go from there. So could you raise your right hand, ma'am? Can you hear me? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down.
Your Honor, I have a quick question as well
Mhm.
for the court, or just kind of a more question about the theory of this petition. It's pled as a vulnerable adult protection order,
Okay.
and
That should be in Superior Court then.
it should be in Superior Court. However, I think it's facially deficient.
Okay, so hang on just a second.
Okay.
That's a new one we haven't heard before. A vulnerable adult TPO should be filed in Superior Court. That's where they deal with easements and vulnerable adults, apparently. Also, I want to eat these tacos so bad.
Mr. Kian, I'll hear from you on that issue.
Yeah.
Should this be transferred to Superior Court?
Since it is pled as a vulnerable adult protection order, that I think is likely where it should have been filed when prior to this, to Ms. Rawlings filing this petition, there was a no contact order in a criminal case that was going to be dismissed. So the deputy prosecuting attorney on that matter had advised Ms. Rawlings to go next door to district court to file this petition so that she would have the protection of she would be under the protection of a protection order as soon as the release conditions terminated on the Superior Court. And
okay,
so
again, what are we doing now? I mean, should this be transferred to Superior Court to be dealt with there?
I think it would be appropriate to transfer this to Superior Court because of the format of the petition, but would object to that it being dismissed or not being in effect during the transfer.
Hang on, just a second. Say that again.
I would object to the petition being dismissed and Ms. Rawlings not having the benefit of a temporary protection order during the period that the case is transferred.
Your Honor, I think that when we look at the substance of this petition, substance of reform, this kind of, I think we're in the appropriate venue because of the allegation of more or less unlawful harassment. I think it's facially deficient to even be a vulnerable adult protection order case because.
So then do we want to proceed on an anti-harassment statute here? Which
that's what
to do.
I would prefer to do.
So let me list. Okay, I misunderstood your first comments then. Mr. Kian, what say you to that? We can proceed on an anti-harassment petition here now.
I would not be opposed to that. I think there's under the definition of domestic violence in our CW 7.105.10, one definition of domestic violence includes unlawful harassment, includes coercive control, and there's some element of financial exploitation, but much of the evidence that will be presented is going to relate to unlawful harassment and infliction of fear of harm.
Okay. So if she's sworn her in, then we'll proceed on a harassment theory. And how do you wish to have her present testimony? Do you wish to examine her or just have her testify in narrative form?
Ask her a handful of questions, and I understand that Your Honor's instruction about the need to not get into the nitty-gritty of the vulnerable adult case with Thomas Rawlings. Some of the events occur in that context, but I won't be going out of my way to introduce evidence that relates to the vulnerable adult protection order case in Superior Court.
So go ahead.
Okay. So, Ms. Rawlings, I'm going to begin by asking you about the events of July 10th of this year. Do you recall what you were doing on July 10th?
I was preparing that afternoon to go to Tom's house to pick him up to go to the bank with him.
And who's Thomas Rawlings?
Thomas Rawlings, my ex-husband and Sean's father.
And did you go to Thomas's house that day?
I did that afternoon, and I found Tom not in the house. I got kind of, whoa, where's Tom? He's wandering the neighborhood, so I drove around the neighborhood. I did not find Tom walking around, so I went back to the house. And as I got back to the house, the two deputies were there and wanted to ask me some questions.
And what, if anything, did you do next?
I talked to them for a few minutes and I said, Tom has a dog. I'm gonna need to get the dog over to the kennel before the kennel closes. So please let me do that.
Another fucking dog? Also, yes, lawyer, you need a new mic. You're killing me here. Hi, loud. This is another dog being shared between exes? Why are you people doing this? Get another dog.
Then, what, if anything, happened while you were taking the dog to the kennel?
Driving to the kennel, I got a very angry phone call from Sean about why were the police there, and they had no right to be there, and it was a very angry phone call.
Can I have you turn to Petitioner's Exhibit 3 on page 17?
Really? Got it over here.
Your Honor, let me know when you have that exhibit up before I proceed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kean, could you say that again, please?
Do you have that?
Christopher says, have a great night, everyone. Thank you, Christopher, so much. Appreciate all your help hitting goals. Have a good night. Be well. We'll see you tomorrow.
That exhibit before you?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's 17 of 22, Mr. Kean.
17 of 21, I think. It should say at the bottom of Exhibit 3.
17 of 21. Thank you, Mr. Kean.
No problem. Ms. Rollins, I have you read a couple of sentences from the report and then ask you about them. Starting on the third line, the sentence that begins with your name.
Okay. Barbara said Sean called her after she left the house with Chester and was going off asking, why are the cops at the house? They had no reason to be there. Barbara appeared worried and said she didn't want Sean to get mad at her for talking to us.
And is that an accurate description of what happened?
Yes, I would say so.
Were you in fact worried?
Yes, I was worried
And
about Sean's behavior.
And why were you worried about Sean finding out that you had been speaking with law enforcement?
Sean has long held the opinion that you don't talk to the police officers, that you don't give them information. You go through your attorney or whatever, but you do not talk to the police officers. He's long held that opinion.
Correctly, I might add. That is, in fact, the advice that I give my daughter and people. Obviously, this is not legal advice, but seriously, of course, you don't talk to police about crimes. Possible crimes. Like, she sounds like she's, like, ma'am, duh. The fuck?
Prior to we have to go to Exhibit 2.
You might have to guide me. I lost the tag. Okay.
And looking at pages 1 through 3 of Petitioner's Exhibit 2.
Okay.
I'm taking
Say that again, Mr. Kean. Where are you at?
Exhibit Petitioners Exhibit 2, I'm having Ms. Rollins look at pages 1 through 3 of Petitioners Exhibit 2.
Thank you.
And Ms. Rollins, are you familiar with those pages 1 through 3 Exhibit 2?
Fairly well, yes, fairly well.
And what was significant about these messages that you wanted them included as exhibits?
Sean seems to have a theme here that I hated his father, that I treated him as if he was diminished and useless as dolt and diminished as incompetent is one of the things I have written down in the text. There just seemed to be this theme that I hated his father hated me. What else do I see here? He's a sovereign human being, and he needs to be respected as one. And he goes on to say, I have this constant obsession of forced relocation, and I need that to be interfacing him for a while because I'm stirring up family members. In the midst of all, you cannot detest him and want to see him gone. So there is obviously no rectifying your hatred, which then means that you shouldn't be creating a scenario where you have to interact with someone who affects you like that.
And
this was a constant theme.
And for context, what is it that Sean is upset about, or that you're requesting, or that he thinks that you're trying to accomplish?
He has apparently the feeling that I mistreat his father, that I'm rude, and I hate him. That's what this text seems to me to be referring to.
Is any of that accurate?
No, it's not accurate.
Can I have you look at Petitioners Exhibit 2 now, turning to pages 4 through 9? Pages 4 through 9.
4 through 9, okay. Got it.
So are those text messages between you and Sean from June 7th?
Correct,
June
yes.
7th to the 9th?
Yes.
And what is going on in for context with that message?
Well, again, we're back to the message of you should remember to tell Aunt Carol how much you despise him the next time you're talking to her, and let her know at this point you just wish he was dead. I've never said any such thing at all. I need to tell the court that I never said that.
And looking at page 5.
Yeah.
Oh, shall I call you Runaway Lions now? Is that what I gotta do, Roland G? I gotta learn your new name, baby? Finding out you're the only snack in the house. Girl, I just ate one of those tacos. Oh my god. But thank you so much. Look at us. We're on our way to goal number 2, which would mean 2 kitchen streams this week. 2 kitchen streams this week. Also, this is frivolous. I'm fucking perplexed. I don't even understand what's going on in this case necessarily, but Loud, your comment about that you used to golf with, like, literally. And also Wahoo, you channeling Vince. Oh my god, you guys are fucking killing me tonight.
Can I have you read the last sentence of the text? Yeah, so the text message from Sean on page 5.
I hope you can somehow find a higher road but you do not have my permission to defame me or hurt my father in this process of psychotic behavior.
Were you at any time defaming Sean? Were you defaming Sean at any time?
I do not think so. Obviously, he took it that I was, but I was never defaming my son ever.
Were you no.
But she's the petitioner, right? Because she's starting. We always start with the petitioner. So she's filing for this protection order against her son? Is that what I'm gathering here? Because the words that he's saying to her sound like a child disconnecting from their narcissistic parent. Just so you guys know.
I'll have you turn to page 10 of Petitioner's Exhibit 2. And
Okay.
can I have you read just the first, well, first, what's shown on page 10 of Petitioner's Exhibit 2?
You want me to read the?
What is it? What does that show?
I'm
It's a
answering
text
Sean.
message from June 21st.
It's the text message from June 21st, and it's the big theme of Sean's how I hate his father and so forth. And I answer that by saying, Sean, you can rail all over me all you want and tell me I'm slandering you. It's got to stop.
And did it stop?
It did not stop.
I sounded just like you, and doesn't she sound like the mamas? I'm getting narky vibes here. Just the way she said that. Sean. If I were Sean, I'd be running too. I already did, in fact.
Until there was a no contact order.
Do you have a concern that contact or that messages would continue harassing this?
I do, yes, I do. That's why I want this continued contact order.
Please turn to pages 11 and 12 of the same exhibit.
Okay.
There's a message that's in all capital letters.
Correct.
Would you please read that?
The whole thing? Where would you like me to start?
At the bottom of page 11 with I
do not need your reminder or any condescending attitude. Your job is to lead him along. That's it. And would you like me to continue?
Just whistle.
So come down from that pedestal that you're standing on, first of all, and start doing your part to stay away from there. That everything is taken care of. I don't need your mixing up or messing with anything. I have had him on a good and organized track, and his memory and communication improving. I don't need you over there bullying him around. Stay the fuck away. You hate him. He hates you. Neither of you have any business with each other. Stop trying to pick it all apart. I have it all taken care of.
Now, have you now turn to page 20 of the same exhibit, page 20 of 20.
Oh, the same exhibit, okay.
Yes.
Okay, here we are.
Okay.
So Mr. Kean, maybe I should have jumped in earlier. I did read these text messages, and if you want to use them from argument, you can refer back to them.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but I mean, I've read them beforehand. I'm seeing them again now, but anyway, I apologize for interrupting. You may continue.
I'm going to ask, no problem. I'm going to ask one more question about one of on page 20.
Correct.
I want to just have you read the not allowed, just review the highlighted portion, starting with the word if. And then I want to ask how you interpreted that.
I interpret it as a threat that you want this investigation with APS stopped, or he will isolate me from the family.
Now I want to ask about your finances. There's something that was mentioned in Mr. Rawlings' declaration.
About my finances?
Yes.
Okay.
At some point did you loan Mr. Rawlings a substantial amount of money?
I did, yes.
And what was the amount and when did you loan it?
The amount was it was a HELOC of $150,000. And it was I want to say the summer of 2022.
Did Mr. Rawlings ask to borrow $150,000?
He had some flooding in his house, and we talked one evening about what to do about this situation. And I said, well, how much do you think you're going to need? And he said, well, probably about 50,000. And so I went to the bank and talked to them, and they suggested getting this HELOC, which was 150,000, of which all of it was used by Sean.
So was there ever a point in time where, after saying he needed $50,000 to repair his house, that he asked to borrow the extra 100,000?
No, we never really discussed it.
And
Okay, apparently this is a rich person problem. I'm sorry, I have no fucking clue how you don't discuss $100,000. How does one get access to that extra $100,000 with no discussion? How does that happen? Are you joking? That doesn't make any sense. That's fucked.
as of the time, as of the date the protection order was issued in this case, what was the outstanding balance on the loan, that HELOC loan?
I want to say in the area of 145,000 was used.
So was any payment made on the principal?
On the principal, no. On the interest, it was shown religiously every month paid the interest. The principal was never touched.
So after 4 years, the balance on the loan was the same?
Yes.
Did you ever try to discuss a repayment plan with him and get it reduced to writing?
On occasion, I would discuss it, and I was basically put down about I didn't understand how HELOCs worked, or the length of time that it took to pay them off, et cetera, et cetera. I was put down. Is the only way I can explain it.
So he wasn't.
Is a HELOC a home equity line of credit? Or a high interest line of credit? No, seriously, I'm gonna guess that it's a home equity line of credit, or what do we call those here? We call them something else. Well, honestly, when I worked at the bank, everything was unsecured because it was before the '08 recession, and so, oh, the good old days. It was beautiful. So very rarely were we tying anything to anybody's homes. People were buying homes, but it would be more common to like finance 2 or 3 condos for somebody than to put a home equity line of credit on there. I very often would tell people, oh, I see here that you qualify for an unsecured line of credit. We call them PLCs, personal line of credit. Oh, well, I don't need that. I don't want that. Okay, well, that's fine. But when you do need it, you won't be able to get it. So you should probably get it now. And then, of course, they would get it and then just use it. Good night, Barb. But the solution to that is to get your paychecks deposited into your line of credit. And that way, it counts as a payment twice a month at least. There's a little fucking financial terrible advice that we used to give out at the bank.
Receptive to your attempts.
He was not.
And Mr. Rawlings' declaration, there was a statement about a matter that was dismissed with a Home Depot card. I'm correct.
Oh, you want to see?
Yes.
To me.
Yes. You recall in Mr. Rawlings' declaration, he refers to a matter with a Home Depot card that was found on him, and the matter was later dismissed.
Correct. Yes.
And was Mr. Rawlings an authorized user on that account?
He was.
And when you realized the mistake, you had cleared it up.
I had received a letter from the prosecutor's office about the Home Depot card. The night that the deputies were asking me about this card, there was so much emotion going on that day, and I just got confused. And I said, "What? He has my Home Depot card? He shouldn't have any of my cards." So I made that mistake. I got the letter from the prosecutor's office. And I called them up first of all, and then I returned that letter saying he had authorization by me to use that card. There was a misunderstanding on your part.
And since that time, have you reviewed statements from other credit cards?
Yes, my Alaska credit card. Yes.
And what if anything did you find when reviewing those Alaska credit card statements?
My Alaska card, I had authorized Sean to use it one Christmas a couple of years ago to buy Christmas presents for his children, basically. Unbeknownst to me, Sean has continued to use that Alaska credit card, unauthorized.
Again, rich person problem, right? Unbeknownst to me? I'm sorry, what? Believe me, ain't nobody spending any money in my bank account without me fucking knowing it, okay? If somebody was buying gifts, and this is, I guess, the problem when you have too much money, because that just would never happen. It would just never happen. I don't have enough money for that to happen. But I guess, you're saying for 2 years you never checked your goddamn fucking credit card? Or more, I'm feeling the vibe like you just admitted that you accidentally told the police that your son stole the credit card, but in fact he hadn't. You had authorized it. So is this another one of those situations where perhaps you actually did authorize it, but when he's in your good books, everything's authorized, but when he's not in your good books, things are not authorized? I don't know. It just seems disingenuous to me to allow she was saying, yeah, I found that out and then I cut it, I cut that. And it's so simple, right? You call the fucking credit card company and you cancel that card and you get a new one. It's so easy. So it's confusing to me. It just means either she doesn't look at the statements, she can't remember what she's buying, or she did allow it and now she's going back on it.
By me.
And would payments be made when it was used without your knowledge?
He made payments on it, but they were made prior to the closure of the statement for that month. So the balance was never, this huge balance was never reflected because it was paid before the cycle was closed.
So
You telling me
And
you
that
don't
was-
notice when somebody's paying on the credit card either? Come on now. Come on. Also, if he's using it and paying it off, what's the problem? That just sounds like something you told him he could do. Doesn't it? So you could get the points! You fucking bitch, it's your Alaska Air Miles credit card. You're trying to get the goddamn fucking points so that you can fly everywhere. That's exactly what that is. They're putting as much shit on that credit card as possible so that they can maximize the points. That's exactly what that is. That's a family venture. When you're in the good books.
So that was, this was something that was done without your knowledge or.
Without my authorization or my knowledge. I didn't see the balance on the statement, and so I didn't get hysterical.
It's not fraud at all. It's not fraud. My Nana would do the same thing. She has an Alaska Air Miles credit card. It's the exact one. And this situation has happened anyways. If you're going to make a big purchase, she will put it on the credit card and then you pay her and then she pays. Generally, that's how we would do it. You put the payment through on the credit card and then you pay Nana. But she would ask us to do that for points for certain things. Like if you're getting your car fixed or something like that. Not like a loan, but like as like, hey, let's maximize my air miles because I use them every year to fly places. Like I've had that discussion, especially on Alaska. I know specifically the Alaska Air Miles credit card system, right? And the thing is, again, like that sounds like a discussion that happened because it's so simple to change it. All you have to do is get a new card. And also the fact that she's claiming, I only look at the balance. I don't look at the other parts of the paper. I just look at the bottom. Well, bitch, that's your fault. Read the whole fucking statement. Like, you can't, this is so dumb. Oh, like, who doesn't see a huge payment on their credit card statement? No, who doesn't glance over the payment? If you're going to open it and look at it, you're going to glance at it, aren't you? I don't know, maybe I just don't have any experience with that.
I believe that you had prepared a statement that you wanted to read to the court. That can have you.
Yes, that's right there.
I can have you, if you'd like, you can. And in closing and wrapping up Ms. Rowling's testimony, she had been very nervous about testifying and had prepared something that she wanted to present to the court.
Are you ready?
You can.
Your Honor, I wish to leave some clarifying statements with the court, and I have chosen legal representation because I understand this is a very difficult issue. I wish to say that Sean has never ever physically threatened me. This has all been emotional and very stressful. There were personality issues and manipulation of all kinds, sir, and I attached some very intense texts from Sean as well. All I can say is I feel very threatened and very frightened. People can do some very strange things when they're angry. There has been financial manipulation as well, but let's go back to the beginning. There have been some serious issues in our family for quite some time regarding the care of Tom, who is Sean's father. Tom has been in the throes of Alzheimer's and has been living alone unsupervised in his home with.
And I'm going to stop you there. Like I say, I understand all that. All that's in the declaration. What I want to know about is what Sean Rawlings has communicated to you. That's what I understand the issues with Sean's brother and his father and all that. I get all that, but you're the petitioner. I want to know about the harassment you're alleging from Mr. Rawlings, and I'll give him a chance to respond too when the time comes.
That's basically what I am saying in this statement, that I feel very threatened. I feel very frightened because I think that people can do some very strange things when they're angry.
And now I'm going to give Mr. Leone a chance to ask you questions if he wishes to do that. Mr. Leone?
Thank you, Your Honor. So let me make sure I'm starting at the right point here. Your Honor. Mr. Rawlings, on many occasions you have stated that you hate Thomas, correct?
That is not correct. I've never said that. That's an interpretation that Sean got it from somewhere. I have never, ever in the whole wide world said I hated Tom Rawlings.
Okay. But
Tom's.
Would you agree that this sentiment that my client attributes to you, he reminded you of this in his text messages with you, correct?
Say that again.
My client has had the position that you have stated that you hate Thomas, correct?
He seems to have that theme, yes. I've seen it several times in all these texts that have gone on for the last several months.
Okay.
I have never seen.
And you never blocked Sean in the history of your text messages, correct?
Did you hear the question, ma'am?
Yeah, she's got to answer the question.
He's asking if you
Ask him what he's here for.
if you've blocked his text message.
Ms. Rawlings, did you hear Mr. Leone's question?
Say that again, please.
Did you hear Mr. Leone asked you if you had ever blocked Mr. Rawlings on his texts?
Sean is now blocked from my text. Yes, he is.
No, okay.
So what I'm getting at is page 5 of 23 for your exhibit 2. Do you recall up until this letter you wrote on June 1st, 2024, ever blocking Sean?
I didn't block Sean until recently.
Okay. But Sean, would you agree that Sean has told you not to contact you, not to contact him?
Can you ask it again, please?
Would you agree that Sean has told you not to contact him in the history of your correspondence with him?
In some of these recent texts, yes, he's asked me to not be in contact.
Okay. And generally the text messages that you have exchanged with Sean that have been submitted with the court, these were a dialogue between you two, correct?
Correct.
And you voluntarily corresponded with him, correct?
Correct.
So were you present at Thomas's home on July 10th, 2024?
In the afternoon, I went to pick him up to take him to the bank. And that's when I found him not at home.
And Sean was there as well, correct?
Say what?
Sean was there as well, correct?
He came later in the afternoon.
And were you around Sean when deputies were not there?
Did I what?
Were you around Sean when there was no sheriff's deputies there?
I think his neighbor probably called him. His neighbor Leonard probably called him and said, "You've got deputies over at your house."
No, ma'am, I think we're just talking past each other. My question is, were you physically present at the home when deputies were not there?
We're not there, no. I was not present then. I had gone, let me restate that. I had gone over to the house to pick Tom up to take him to the bank. I found him not there. So I began driving around the neighborhood thinking he might be wandering. And I did not find him. I got back to the house. That's when the deputies showed up when I got back to the house.
Okay, but later on in the day, you were still present at the home when deputies had left, correct?
The deputies were there. I was taking the dog to the kennel because the kennel was
No.
going to be closing. I was,
So what I'm asking you is, were you at the home on July 10th after deputies had left?
well, I had left, but when the deputies left, I left. Is that what you're asking? I did not,
Yes,
I did not
but
remain in the house.
did you leave concurrent with the deputies, or did you wait for a while and then leave after they left?
I probably concurrently left when the deputies left.
Okay.
I believe. I really don't remember, but I pretty much left right away.
And so your testimony is you don't recall how long you were there for.
I'm fairly sure that I left when the deputies left.
Okay. And you previously stated that Sean has long held the opinion of not speaking with law enforcement, correct?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am. As so your prior testimony was that Sean has always been of the opinion not to speak with law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So on this particular occasion, when he spoke with you, were you surprised to hear that he was saying, could you please not speak with law enforcement?
And I was not surprised at that at all.
Okay. So would you agree that Sean's opinion of not speaking with law enforcement is not just applicable to this case, but a general philosophy from which he lives his life?
Correct.
And you were aware that Sean was on your Home Depot credit card when you were speaking with law enforcement, correct?
Yes, but as I said earlier, there was so much emotion going on that afternoon that when I was called that evening by the deputies about the Home Depot card, I did not answer properly.
Okay. And you were subsequently aware that Sean had been charged in Thurston County Superior Court with being in possession of your Home Depot credit card, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were contacted by defense counsel for Sean, Mr. Eric Pilon, correct?
I wasn't contacted by anybody, no.
And being contacted by Eric Pilon, you agreed to give a statement to Mr. Pilon, correct?
I was not contacted by him.
Okay. Ultimately, that criminal case was dismissed when the prosecutor reached the correct understanding about the credit card, correct?
Right. I had called them and I had answered their note that they had sent to me. And I said, this needs to be dismissed. This is not correct. Sean is totally authorized to use that Home Depot card.
So would you agree that you were mistaken when you first made those representations to the Thurston County Sheriff?
Yes, I agree to that.
Okay. And sorry, ma'am. And the regarding the HELOC, you kept the draw period on this loan open longer than you had to, correct?
Correct.
And this resulted in interest continuing to accrue on this HELOC, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you agree that those cameras that you initially discussed in your petition were put there with your agreement?
Yes, they were. Initially.
And you asked Sean to maintain those cameras at your home, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you wish to have your Mr. Sean Rawlings testify?
I have Leonard Smith, who I'd like to call. He was present on the 10th, but I mean, would Your
I see.
Honor entertain a halftime motion to dismiss?
No,
Okay.
I think there's a sufficient.
Prima facie shown.
I've read through the text, not all the texts.
Oh, the power move. I fucking love that move. Hi, Presto. I've told you this before. That's the move you got to do when you're an attorney. An automatic halftime motion for dismissal on the fact that they haven't proven the case beyond reason or whatever the standard is. Blah, 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 blah. Because sometimes it fucking works. She's pissed about it. Look how she's leaned in, though. Shane! You're doing it again. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I can put it up. Oh, I can love it too. Your logo looks really good there with the super chat. Super chat. You're super chatty. Good night, Bill. I know it's late. It's late.
Have been identified, but based on the text included in her declaration, didn't hear Mr. Rawlings really address any of those that were cited, that were referenced by Mr. Kean, but I think there's sufficient information within those texts where we're going to proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Smith, you want to?
I would like to.
Connect?
So he's in the waiting room.
Yeah, he was not in the waiting room. He's actually on the Zoom call. So, Mr. Smith, you need to unmute. And you need
Good
to come on
afternoon, Your
camera,
Honor.
please.
Okay. Good afternoon.
So could you raise your right hand, please? Swear and affirm the testimony and information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down.
So, Mr. Smith, who are you in relation to Barbara and Sean?
I am Sean's best friend and Barbara's former neighbor to Thomas Rawlings.
Okay. So on July 10th, 2024, did you have contact with Barbara?
I did.
Did you have contact with Sean?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where was this?
Outside of Thomas's front yard.
Did you see her interacting with law enforcement?
I did.
At any point, did you see, was Sean present when she was interacting with law enforcement?
Yes, he was.
Okay. At any point, did you see Barbara present as if she was under any kind of fear?
No, none whatsoever.
How close to her were you?
Arm's length away.
Did you see Sean try to exhibit any kind of influence on her that day?
None whatsoever. We were talking.
And tell me, what did you observe?
Well, what happened was Caitlin came over and woke me up. I worked evenings at the time. Woke me up, said there was officers and sheriffs over there. And when I came over, nobody of an adult presence was there. So that's why Caitlin came to get me. I called Sean and said, hey, there are some deputies here and they're here talking about your dad and there's somebody asking questions. So you might want to get here. he informed me he was in a meeting and he was about 30 to 35 minutes away. So I kind of bridged the gap in between them, the time he was getting there and conversations of and answering the basic questions I could. After the deputies left, Sean, Barbara, Caitlin, Harlan, which is her great grandson, were all standing around her vehicle because she had some gifts, clothes for her grandson, Harlan. And we were trying to keep Oliver, her dog, inside the vehicle while Caitlin was they were sitting on the lift gate underneath the tailgate. It was a nice, friendly conversation. We talked about dogs because we all have dogs from Sean's dog, Delilah. And we were all laughing, goofing, talking about what our dogs do. And also, she was holding Harlan to get, it was a very friendly conversation.
And Sean was present, correct?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we were all. It was Sean, me, Barbara, Harlan, Caitlin. We were all there talking after the deputies left. So, with Barbara saying she wasn't there, I don't understand. She said she was there for a good 35 minutes after the deputies left. We were all talking like we used to as like a family would talk.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Nothing further.
Who do we believe?
Any questions for Mr. Smith, Mr. Kean?
No questions for Mr. Smith.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. You're free to mute back up. You're free to leave if you wish. You're free to stay and watch as well, but you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, bro.
So we will call Mr. Rawlings.
Mr. Rollins, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Go ahead. I'll hear from you.
So, Mr. Rawlings, have you reviewed the text messages filed by your mother with the court? And so much of the testimony here has been about common themes. What do you think the common theme of these text messages is in your mind?
Pretty consistently your poor treatment of my dad.
You need to speak louder so Mr. Kean can hear you.
And so I'll restate the question. So we discussed a lot about common themes in this case. Generally, what do you think the common theme of these text messages filed with the court is?
Her kind of obsessive involvement in my father's affairs and her real disdain and dislike for my dad just as an individual.
And so this notion that she hasn't stated that she has never stated that she hated your father. What do you have to say to that?
It's patently false. She's stated specifically made that statement to me personally, all of my children, even my father's sister when she was staying there with my mother in my mother's home. It's been said countless times in front of many, many people.
And yet she was helping your father, correct?
She absolutely was, yeah, for quite some time.
Oh, so about how long when did your father require her help?
She helped him with any sort of medical needs, doctor's appointments.
My question was, when did your father require her help?
Oh, it's 2022 or early in 2022 is when I would say she really started helping consistently on a day-to-day basis.
Was your mother estranged from your father leading up to this?
Yes, they've been divorced for 30 some years.
What was the level of communication during that divorce period?
Very minimal. I'm coordinating things like maybe family events or Christmas, type stuff.
Okay, so these text messages submitted to the court. This allegation, or not this allegation, but your statement here, he constantly says how he's afraid of you and intimidated because he's going to be talked to like he's a useless dolt and diminished as incompetent. Statements like this that you say your mother made, why did you say those things in text messages?
Because she had been consistently treating him in that manner. As I had observed, my kids had observed, Leonard had observed, it had begun to get very, very harsh and consistent.
And
That's his mom. So what the story is, I figured it out. This is the mom over there, you know who I mean, the lady right in the screen. That's the mom, Barbara. The dad has Alzheimer's, and the son is the one at the courthouse. It sounds like she's been a bitch to her ex-husband, but also inserting herself so that she gets to be around him. And the text message was basically like, Dad told me he doesn't like it when you're around because you make it feel like he's a diminished adult and incompetent. And they are divorced and have been for 37 years. And also, she claims she's never said she hated him, but it seems like multiple people have heard her talk in disdain. Sometimes people that are mean forget what they say.
How give us some examples of what your mother would do to treat him that way.
Any word that came out of his mouth, she would like completely diminish and demean him and act like he's a fool and talk over him, and very, very belittling in her behavior. And there's just he was very, very intimidated on a constant basis by the end of things. He constantly said how he was scared of her, and it was to the point of being very unhealthy for both of them at a minimal level.
Okay. So this on page 2 of 23 for exhibit 2, you refer to your father's desire to be a sovereign human being. What was your mother's position on your father's sovereignty and ability to care for himself?
She had no regard for anything to do with his autonomy or sovereignty. It was very much he needs to be made to do whatever she felt should be done. And that was it. There was no consideration for his humanity.
And what was your role in your father's life this time besides being son?
I helped him with the construction around his house, cleaning up, things of that nature.
Well, what I'm getting at is, did you have a power of attorney over your father?
I did, yeah. I was designated as primary power of attorney.
Were there any special clauses within that power of attorney that you were aware of?
There was specifically a no guardianship clause that he had included in his power of attorney.
Were you in the discharge of your duties as power of attorney? Did this clause ring any significance in how you went about that job?
It did, in that it was very expressly desire of his to stay in his home, and it made it very difficult to do anything that might benefit him in terms of helping him transition outside the house.
Who was the main strike that? Did anybody try to angle away or try to diminish your father's ability to maintain his sovereignty here?
And my mom specifically.
And would you say that the purpose of a lot of your text messages with your mother is to maintain your father's wishes?
Absolutely. And based on the fact that this was an everyday ongoing occurrence, she refused to take any like direction to back up or ease up on him. And so every day this scenario is repeating itself.
Okay, so I'm directing you to page 3 of 23 of his exhibit 2. This um, uh, sentence starting, if you cannot interface, can you please read this for me?
If you cannot interface with him without this constant obsession with forced relocation, then you need not interface with him for a while, at least until it is not consuming you. In any event, it is not your place to stir up other family members to your cause. He did not ask for that treatment at any point in his existence. You have been providing him amazing support and organization, but in the midst of all of that, you cannot detest him and want to see him gone. So you cannot not detest him and want to see him gone. So there is obviously no rectifying your hatred, which then means you shouldn't be creating a scenario where you have to interact with someone who affects you like that.
Okay, so were you at any point in making this communication to her, telling her that she would no longer be able to associate with your family?
No.
Why did you make this communication?
To try and encourage her to see some, rational decision-making process to separate herself from this truly like obsessive involvement in just really, really, really negative behavior.
Okay. And do you acknowledge in your text messages that you at some points use profanity?
Absolutely.
Did you ever use that profanity as a means to to annoy, alarm, harass, or bring down your mother?
Never. No, I just swear that is a rule of habit. There's no way directed at her personally. I never swore, called her out of her name, or swore at her.
How long has your mother heard you swear for?
25, 30 years.
Okay. So I believe it's in exhibit 2. So these text messages with all caps that have been that you sent your mother here, which would be exhibits 2, pages 11 and 12. Why did you use all caps here?
This is very recently, and it had just become exacerbated with trying to beg her and plead and convince her to stop abusing my dad. And so I texted her in all caps for the first time ever to see if it might.
What was the concern you had leading up to this?
There had just been an incident where she had taken my dad to Walgreens or Rite Aid, one of those places, and my dad overbuys things. He's a hoarder, he overbuys things, but as an aside, he's long had multitudes of very high-end shaving equipment. She took him to Rite Aid or Walgreens and made him buy a bag of the cheapest single blade disposable razors that they could find, and then attempt to shave his face, which was very long at that point. Like, I'm not saying stubble, like, half inch light beard. Forced him to try and shave his face with these single blade razors, which was.
I'm just going to answer. I mean, this really isn't relevant. His shaving habits and things of that sort. Yeah, so no one's objected to it, but I'm just. I don't need to hear that.
Okay,
that's not necessary.
That's why the caps message.
But for instance, it looks pretty alarming here in all caps. Stay the F away. You hate him. He hates neither of you. Have any business with each other. Stop trying to pick it apart. Have it all taken care of. Why'd you send this?
In an attempt to have her stop doing those things, to make a good rational decision to remove herself from a very unhealthy situation.
Okay. So in the history of your text messaging to your mother, has she ever blocked you?
Never.
Did she?
I wasn't aware that she just said that she has blocked me recently, but I wasn't aware because I have not tried to communicate with her for many, many months.
July 10th, were you July 10th, what happened?
My father was taken against his will and removed from his home against his will and taken by the EMTs. At that point, places unknown. I had no idea where he was.
Did you express concern?
I'm going to stop you for a second because I have a question. In that police report for that date, I had asked maybe to stay away from this, but we've gone into it. There's a fairly graphic description of the state of his living arrangements at the time. Do you agree with that?
Some of it, yeah, he's
Okay.
been a hoarder his home's.
No, I mean, there's not the hoarder, not the clutter. It appeared to the police officer that he had urinated on himself frequently, multiple times within the clothes he was wearing. I think there was defecation. The house reeked of urine. It was in terrible shape. And again, I'm just kind of hitting the high points here. Is that true? Not true? Exaggerated? Not?
Exaggerated.
Okay.
By if Leonard could have spoke to that.
Okay. And I guess my question is, again, it's my experience, they don't remove people from homes absent some fairly graphic circumstances. And my question to you is, how did that happen? How did they get to the point where he was being taken out of that home?
There was an incident approximately 10 days prior to that where they had come out the first time, and the deputy had kind of.
That's right. The first time is when the deputy submitted that description, and then, like I say, I mean.
So my father's.
And apparently somebody found some things because he was in fact removed, which again, not necessarily germane to all this, but
They ITA'd him basically.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the process. My understanding is, how did it get to the point where that happened? When
his home has been in that condition for 15, 20 years at a minimum. It's a problem that he's had ongoing.
Okay, you can continue, Mr. Leone.
Thank you, Your Honor. But your mother, did she ever? Okay, so I guess we had turned to July 10th. So July 10th. Could you locate your father?
I could not, no.
Did you ask your mother where your father was?
I did, yes.
And what was her response to that?
And she said that she had no idea, and basically got really angry and told me that if I was going to keep asking her, that she was never going to speak to me again.
Okay. And what was your response to this?
My response was to get off the phone with her, essentially. I said, this does not have to be going down this way, and you know where my father is because you were speaking to the individuals who took him.
So does your mother have any trouble telling you her sentiments about a particular situation?
My mom doesn't have any trouble telling anyone her sentiments about any situation.
Okay. And to this general proposition that this was a one-sided.
Excuse me, counsel. I cannot hear the witness testifying.
Okay, good. Just speak up, Mr. Rawlings.
Sorry.
To Mr. Kean, how long ago did we lose you?
And just the last question, if you could just repeat the last question and have the witness answer, that'd be sufficient. Thank you.
Great. So does your mother have any trouble telling you, or anybody else for that matter, when she disagrees with a given situation or what's been said?
Absolutely not. She's very outspoken.
And to this notion of this being a case of a son imposing upon his mother, his beliefs about a situation, what do you say to that? Would she have been able to state her position on something without fear?
Absolutely. She would and does, and it's very much her personality. She's very outspoken.
Okay. And did you file the phone call history that you had with your mother with the court?
I did.
And about how many phone calls are reflected in those?
I think 2, maybe. Just but very few.
Were those phone calls ever more than 2 minutes?
No.
Okay. So a phone call on July 10th. Can you characterize that for the court?
Yeah, my daughter called after she had arrived at my dad's and had been confronted by deputies and had been told that my father had been taken away and that my mom was currently off getting my dad's dog into a boarding facility. And she called me to tell me basically, Pop's not here, he's missing, they took him. And so, and grandma is taking his dog to this Northwind kennel. So I immediately called my mom to find out where the heck my dad was and what was going on. She had obviously been there. And she basically, I was very upset that he was missing and had been taken, and asked her why she wouldn't have contacted me or someone in our family while she was there with all of this going on to make us aware that my father was being taken so someone could help and intervene on his behalf. And she said the police should have done that and I'd need to talk to them. And it was incredibly frustrating.
Did you speak to her in any way, shape, or form meant to shake her up or harass her?
No, absolutely.
Were you frustrated?
I was very frustrated and scared for my dad.
In any way, shape, or form, did you intend to make her not cooperate with answering questions posed by law enforcement?
No way. She would never not do what she wants to do anyways, but I certainly had no intent on preventing her from talking to anybody.
Do you,
I'm sorry, could the witness repeat that last answer?
I certainly had no intent on preventing her from talking to anyone.
at any point, did you see your mother have trouble communicating, operating a cell phone or anything as a result of your interactions with her?
No, she was kind of stumbling with the phone, but only because the deputies were reaching for it. And she was surrounded by 3 different law enforcement officers, all kind of crowding in around her. It seemed pretty intense.
Okay.
Please let it be over soon.
So during the course of your father being, I guess, leading up to your father being taken by APS from the home, how often was your mother at his home?
At least twice a day, on almost every day.
And did your mother ever take extra care to help your father out with his clothing, with his living circumstances, and general hygiene?
Like a little with his laundry and getting it laundered, but in general, like the condition of his home and hygiene wise, everyone in the family is apprised of the condition of his house and how he lives. It's very difficult to see, but it's a malady. It's not something that just happened overnight. She's, generally in his home frequently for the last several years. For the record, his house is actually in considerably better condition than it had been in for a majority of that time over the last couple of years. It's gotten.
And what steps did you take to get the home to that position?
Initially, my aunt had located a cleaning company that specialized in homes like this, where they're just a hoarding type situation, where the disastrous mess and like kind of just disgusting conditions. And we hired them several times to come into his home and remove loads and loads of garbage and all of the carpets and things that were just completely disgusting. He used to not let anyone come in to do that or even remove like a scrap of paper. So it was a big step forward.
Okay. And did you ever do anything to strike that? Regarding, there has been testimony regarding the home equity line of credit on your mother's home. Was that given to you with her agreement?
It was, yes.
And did you ever, was there any influence exhibited on her for that to be issued?
No, there wasn't. No, she offered.
And have you ever, are you aware of the testimony she's made regarding where the payments on that went?
Yes, I am.
And what is, how much did you pay per month on this HELOC?
It's approximately, it's a adjustable rate. So it's approximately $1,200 to $1,300 a month.
Okay, and why do you imagine that the principal, first off, do you know if the principal has been affected or not?
As far as I know, it has not. The interest only payments are made the way the HELOC structured. In the draw period, the payments that are made are interest only. And I had been begging her to have the loan transition to the payback or the repayment period so that the payment structure changes.
And she has not done that.
Not that I'm aware of, not as of July.
Okay, and to the criminal investigation that was conducted against you, did your mother agree with your defense attorney to give a statement?
Yes, according to my defense attorney and his paralegal, she made an appointment to come give a deposition, sorry.
And what was how far after the filing of the charges was this?
This was the following Monday, so 7 days.
And at that point, did she understand from dealing with your attorney, do you understand if everyone involved with the case at that point realized that you were authorized on that card?
Yeah, she was needing to clarify it with my defense attorney as what was the purpose for that appointment.
And why do you think she failed to appear for that?
I think that she wanted to have the charge continue to cause me to have quite a detrimental scenario in my life and be restricted from her home.
So ultimately, what are you asking the court to do with this petition?
I'd like the court to dismiss it. I think it's false at honest pretense.
And does your mother characterize any exchange you've ever had with her when you're on good terms as nasty?
No.
And when do things become, quote, nasty in her eyes?
After we there was some back and forth with my dad's finances, and double payments were being made on various bills. Checks were written that she had been kind of writing checks to an individual that I was not apprised the checks were being written, causing his accounts to bounce, which was creating a bunch of friction. My daughter had realized through kind of just happenstance at my mom's house, had glanced over and seen that my mom had a checkbook with both my father and her name on the checks, as if it were a mutual account, which made no sense because they've been divorced for 30 years. And so in doing a little digging, we had come to find out that she had somehow had herself added to my father's bank account.
Yet did she accuse you of mismanaging that money?
She had been, yeah, me and all my children, pretty much everyone by herself.
No further questions.
Any questions, Mr. Kean?
No questions for Mr. Rawlings.
So go ahead. I'll hear argument then. I'll hear from you, Mr. Kean, and then I'll hear from Mr. Leone. And then I'll be ready to rule.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is obviously a difficult case, and reading through the text messages, having the background of the deplorable conditions that Mr. Rawlings, as a vulnerable adult, was living in, and my client's efforts to help him, and her concerns about the financial mismanagement of Mr. Rawlings' accounts. The multiple overdraws are addressed in Petitioner's Exhibit 3 in the police report. It's clear that there was a lot of information that Mr. Rawlings did not want to come to light. And my client, Miss Barbara Rawlings, was well within her rights and had a legitimate and lawful interest in ensuring that Mr. Rawlings was safe, his finances were taken care of, and also that her son wasn't doing anything that was going to generate criminal liability. And in response, what my client received were harassing tirades that were both insulting, would constitute harassment, that did in fact cause her fear. And and these messages are such that a person receiving these messages would be seriously alarmed. They would feel they're being harassed. That's detrimental to that person. There's certainly a course of conduct, and these messages in this situation are certainly such that it would cause a substantial amount of emotional distress to someone, and did in fact cause substantial emotional distress to the petitioner. And there's certainly an element of coercive control, both with the taking the seeking a loan of $50,000 to repair a house that somehow spirals into $150,000 HELOC, with a complete refusal to engage, to come up with a payment plan other than making interest-only payments. And these messages show that Mr. Rawlings is engaging in a pattern of psychological aggression and intimidation. And it was for the purpose of discouraging Ms. Rawlings from anything that would bring to light the condition and that Mr. Rawlings was living in, where it was clear he could not care for himself. In the police reports, law enforcement responds because a neighbor found that a bullet was shot from inside Mr. Rawlings' home through walls and into the neighbor's gutter. And an APS later found shell casings in there. It was a very unsafe environment. Mr. Rawlings knew that when law enforcement and APS responded, a lot of very problematic things were going to come to light. And it may have been his purpose for these messages that are gaslighting, that are accusatory, some directly discouraging her, or like saying you are the cause of my being investigated for elder abuse, and trying to and flipping the script as much as possible in a way that is emotionally damaging. It's gaslighting is kind of the best label for it. And it's very emotionally draining. In the police reports, they described Ms. Rawlings as being fearful, being worried, not wanting, asking for her name to be left out of it, not wanting law enforcement to see, not wanting Sean to see her speaking with law enforcement. She has a reasonable fear of retaliation and retribution, and she has experienced an ongoing pattern of unlawful harassment as well as coercive control, and does warrant a protection order. And I know that Ms. Rawlings is concerned that this type of behavior would continue in excess of 1 year if only a 1-year order was granted.
Mr. Leone,
Thank you, Your Honor. Um,
before you start, there is currently a vulnerable protection order in place, correct?
Oh, that is a temporary order of protection issued by Court Commissioner Rebecca Zinn.
Is there a hearing on that?
There's a return hearing on the 15th, and we're only out that far just due to some unfortunate things going on in the Rollins family.
Okay.
And that's yet to be litigated.
Yes. Go ahead.
So we have a declaration of Gary Preble in the record as well. I mean, APS does 2 investigations, and we're months down the line with nothing being pursued. In Mr. Preble's opinion, the case is going to go nowhere, and that's my client's counsel for that. And it's a declaration in this file, so I think that case is what it is. Unfortunately, just comment on that before going to unlawful harassment here. This is a situation that was really uncurable. Everybody knew the conditions of the alleged vulnerable adult here, and we have a petitioner in this case who was there multiple times per week, yet these same conditions were present despite my client's efforts, despite her efforts, despite my client's daughter's efforts. It's a very sad situation. I think ultimately what happened with the incident with the BB, with the shot being fired, ended up being a BB gun. And that ultimately, I think, explained the hole in the neighbor's gutter. Okay, but anyway, turning to this case, unlawful harassment. This court already read the definition. Before we go into real analysis, I think that's, when we look at the end of the definition, a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional distress to the petitioner. This last bit here, I think it's important to note that on our Zoom screen here, the petitioner was smiling during portions of her testimony and presented in a not very fearful, but very, I guess, almost jovial manner in her testimony. We have testimony from Mr. Smith that the petitioner was not in fear on the 10th. And unfortunately, the petitioner's testimony here was she couldn't really recall what was going on the 10th, who left first, was she even there after law enforcement? But we have my client's testimony and we have Mr. Smith's testimony saying that, hey, we were all there together, and she was not scared. And this was after the vast majority of the text messages that I haven't filed in this record were sent to her. We have testimony from my client saying that the petitioner was just as colorful in communication with him and stood up for her position consistently throughout my client's interactions with him. Generally, we do not believe that there has been an overarching course of conduct here related to the petitioner, but even if there is one assumed for arguments, turning to the course of conduct definition, subsection 1, any current contact between the parties was initiated by the respondent or was initiated by both parties. We have my client actually in the history of the text message conversation blocking the petitioner, and the petitioner not blocking my client until after he had been criminally charged, which was under very mistaken circumstances that she unfortunately could not clarify for law enforcement enough, and then refused to clarify with his attorney, end up my client being charged for some time. That factor, I certainly think, turns in favor of my client. The respondent has been given clear notice that all future contact with the petitioner is unwanted. Again, the blocking didn't really occur. There was no actual notice given to my client. Even after in the history of these text messages, my client would word something strongly, often without profanity, and often circling back to, hey, I hope we can work this out. I hope you realize your flaws. Contact resumed. And
we didn't actually rise to actual notice. A design to alarm, annoy, or harass. My concern about this is we all have a right to advocate for our positions as it comes to care of a loved one and any familiar issue.
I think a
Familial.
point I tried to make earlier is it's clear to me, maybe I'm just reading between the lines inaccurately, this guy wasn't cared for. He wasn't. And we can all sit around and point fingers, well, it was my fault, it was her fault, or someone, but I read the police report and I saw the description. I don't know who was supposed to be doing it, but this guy was not getting the care he needed. There's no question about that, in my mind.
Absolutely. But I think what I'm getting at in the analysis of the statute here is the finger pointing that Your Honor just
Right.
mentioned. And we have a right to point fingers.
No, I'm not disputing that.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Absolutely. But this is, once again, both parties were colorful. Mine more so in text messages, but nothing ever vulgar, no threats, and vulgar in the sense of anything that's too bad. Yes, there was occasional profanity used, but it's unfortunately, and it's always kind of has been, a ability, one's ability to emphasize a particular point. So speaking mind about how finances are handled and how many groceries are in the fridge is not harassing, and standing up to an accusation a family member has made about you. Hey, where did the $9,000 is not all yours? And my client rebutting back and saying you have mismanaged his funds, and saying you shouldn't even be on his bank account, is totally not of a threat of being designed to alarm, annoy, or harass. The respondent acting pursuant to any statutory authority. So there's really not a statutory authority here, but my client is Thomas Rawlings is POA and can speak his mind regarding his father's care, especially when it comes to the non-guardianship clause and his father's desire to stay sovereign in his home. The respondent's course of conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with privacy or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive living environment. Again, the petitioner was not intimidated at all. We have Leonard's testimony and my client's testimony at that point. And we have no previous court orders between these parties. So, Your Honor, my client did not run afoul of RCW 7105. This was not an unlawful course of conduct pertaining to his mother. This is an unfortunate situation, but the legislature didn't give us 7105 to plead every time we have a family dispute. It's a shield and not a sword, and in this petition, it's not warranted being granted.
All right.
The truth hurts sometimes, Your Honor, and my client unfortunately confronted the petitioner with the truth regarding her knowledge of his father's whereabouts, the financial history, and just the ugliness of their divorce.
So as I said before, unlawful harassment is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person. Just as conduct seriously unarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such persons, and so serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. And the course of conduct is a series of acts over a period of time. Clearly, this all started because Thomas Rawlings, former husband of Barbara Rawlings, father of Sean Rawlings, was in terrible shape. It's in the file about Mr. Sean Rawlings disagreed with it, but the description contained in the police report is horrible. And again, apparently that he was, there was an ITA was conducted, and then he was in a vulnerable adult. Petition was filed. That's a temporary order was entered. That's set for hearing at some point later. My understanding is that the elder Rawlings is with your brother at the moment.
Correct.
And then people can correct me if that's wrong, who's here from North Carolina looking after him. But the thing that frankly bothers me about all this is the text, what I tried to steer folks to at the beginning, which some was paid attention to, is Sean Rawlings' response to this situation with regard to his mother is basically, why do you hate dad so much? And he goes on to, and again, just as examples, so at one point he says, give me just a second. I'm going to read some of these. You have been providing him amazing support and organization. But then he goes on to say in the same text, but in the midst of all that, you can't not detest him when you want to see him gone. So there is obviously no effect to see him gone. Basically, he's saying to his mother, the ex-wife of his husband, of his father, you want to see my father dead, your ex-husband dead. Another could, yeah, what this, in other texts, that you just wish he was dead. And there's, let me scroll through these. Because you lied to me about telling no one about Pops' loan education. You're lying to me about my aunt and most likely my brother and his wife, clearly without remorse. Basically, what I'm getting that is she's just trying to communicate the situation to other family members. You were the cause of my being investigated for elder abuse based on false claims and accusation, all of which are lies from your mouth. So don't talk to me about having my back in the past. And then he goes on to say that how much she must hate his father, her ex-husband. And I'm kind of hitting the highlights here, but that's an example of a series of texts. It was from Sean Rawlings to his mother, the ex-wife of his father. And I'm finding that that's just a series of emotional abuse towards his mother. And so I am finding that that is harassing behavior. And I am going to enter an order that, again, those texts, I hit the highlights, but there's many more in the file. And yeah, next one here. I cannot and will not be, this is Sean Rawlings, I cannot and will not be the fodder in the wake of the destructive path you're carving on the way to make sure Pop meets the demise that you have assigned to him. I mean, to repeat those things over and over when, as far as I can tell, people are just trying to take care of the guy. And basically his response is, you just want him dead. And so, and I'm oversimplification, but that's behavior that I do find harassing. It's certainly annoying and alarming to be receiving that sort of series of text messages. So again, I will find that is a pattern of harassment. I'm going to enter an order that you're not to have any contact with your mother. And it doesn't sound like you really oppose that. I did, based on everything I've heard so far, you have no problem with that. But it is going to take the place of a formal order. You're not to contact her. You're not to cause her any harm. Don't engage in stalking behavior. Don't come within 1,000 feet of, and again, this doesn't include litigation. If there's court hearings where everybody needs to be present, that doesn't count, of course. Don't come within 1,000 feet of her resident, or her place of employment if she's working. And this order will be in place for a period of a year.
No question.
And I hope your father, your ex-husband, gets the care that he needs, because clearly he needs it.
Holy fucking mic drop, Judge. Bam. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't think I agree necessarily with that. I don't think either lawyer did a very good job of articulating any part of that case to us. It was a fucking nightmare. The best witness of all was the neighbor. But anyways, you guys, I'm gonna send you over to Collins because I think it's still going and I want to put my name up on the screen in front of however many people are there. So let's say goodnight. Remember that I love you and I am proud of you, and I'll see you in the next video, which is tomorrow. Okay? I love you. Bye.
Ways down and ready to ride.